Okay, great and glorious. Seem to be famous one day. Nick Dutch back again one more time. God alone knows why I use that introduction. It sounds a bit over the top, but this is not like the most major YouTube channel in the world, so just like suck it up. This is what I am. I'm just a guy who talks and does stuff and is weird. And that's nice. I like being a bit eccentric, but that's part of the problem as well, isn't it? I mean, enjoying being strange, enjoying being unusual, enjoying being something different. Is that right, or is that just like, enjoying your own personal problems and not progressing beyond them? There was a comment left on one of my videos very recently, because I started getting back to making videos again, which took me right back, and it was talking about Chaos Magic and wanting me to talk about Chaos Magic, and that's a weird school of thought, because it's not really all that much of a progression from all the other schools of pagan thought and supernatural thought and Golden Dawn and all the rest of that at all, really. And I think that's one of the problems. I mean, way back in the day, I travelled out into London and I go to these events run by various people who wrote various books on the subject. And there would be other people there, and there would be little rituals done and the rest of that. And I didn't really see then the progression. I didn't really see the intellectual progression. I mean, magic itself, as a school of thought, sells itself as being really, really good. Why? Because it's the science and art of changing conformity with a will. No, that's bollocks. Life is the science and art of changing conformity with a will. Magic is essentially an attempt, this supernaturalist magic is an attempt to experience something strange and unusual and not knowing what you're doing. And therefore, in some respects, it's more of a work of religion than it is a work of magic by definition and by experience. The Chaos Magic lots, when they came into the mainstream, they were weird. I mean, mainstream in terms of the whole weird supernatural fringe community that I'm still kind of a part of, because I'm still a professional tarot reader. Because the presupposition there was that Chaos Magic was about breaking down magic into its little components so that you can then just use those. And to a certain extent it did. Because there was some analysis there, but did it actually progress any deeper? Could it progress any deeper? Could it generate something really truly scientific about how to do these things? Could it answer the questions of life? Namely, how could you use this stuff in order to generate a reliable change in your life which actually matters, such as an improvement in your health or an improvement in your wealth, for instance, namely the important things in life? To which the answer is basically questionable. Or basically the answer is no, depending upon how you look at it. What was so important, I think, about the innovation within the supernatural community about chaos magic is that it gave people more freedom away from some forms of dogma, such as many attempts at New Age thought does. And it sells the idea of we are different. You can be free from this, that, and the other thought. But then, when you're actually in those groups, the people who are in those groups have their own particular dogmatic interpretation, and without the kind of like objective, standing back and looking at things objective analysis and assessment of what they were doing and what kind of results they were supposed to be getting. This is what I found problematic when I was in the company of chaos magicians, and a lot of them, let's be honest, were too obsessed with their normal lives, such as their relationships and their work and all that kind of stuff, to actually think at all about what they were doing with their, meditations and all the rest of that. So I think that there's always too many questions, because people aren't taking their presence of these supernatural cultures seriously enough for there to be any real progress. There's the occasional strange experience here and there, there's the occasional this, that, and the other, and of course there's all the stories being told about these things, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they aren't quite so good. Okay? Chaos magic itself, what is it going to become next? Okay, who is going to be the next big speaker who's going to come up with some new and interesting ideas? Well, there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any main leaders, all right, or new thoughts and new big books coming out saying we're changing the way the chaos magic is being done or practiced or thought about around here. Because if it was genuine as a school of thought, then it would have stopped growing and it would have stopped developing, because it would have provided all the power to the individual and that's it, boom. But how on earth is a New Age cult supposed to carry on maintaining its sense of identity unless it doesn't provide you with any real freedom of thought? Unless there is a rigid impression of imagery, deity concepts, fashion, jewelry, and all the rest of that. And why on earth would you choose the word chaos to be applied to what is essentially a religious school of thought? I mean, the word chaos often means destruction. It can mean messiness. When essentially, if chaos magic is about breaking down the various different components of what creates an apparently supernatural effect, then surely words such as structure or analysis would be more appropriate. But no, the word chaos is sort of like very good on the PR. It sounds wonderful. It sounds really enticing for certain types of people who like things which are a bit dubious and a bit black and a bit gothic. So does chaos magic actually do what it says on the tin? Of course it doesn't. No. Nor could it ever do. This is one of the reasons why I've chosen the term transdeist, because essentially that means that I do think for myself, and I am separated from every other group and every other cult if I choose to be, and if I don't choose to be, then I won't choose. Then I will choose not to be. But I would still be as objective and clear-minded and as rational as speaking as I can, and of course, being appropriately skeptical, as well as to look into things with greater detail and depth when I can. I think we have to accept the fact that there is a lot of wrong-mindedness within all parts of the New Age movements, the occult movement and the pagan movement. And there is an awful lot of reverence for the inner sicknesses that people have, rather than choosing to face them and trying to grow beyond them. And I think that's one of the many reasons why the kind of like darker or almost demonic or generally chaotic, I suppose, imagery is quite so appealing, because it's like a suggestion to people to say, okay, you've got some problems with yourself or with your character or with your mentality. It's okay, you can carry on being like that as long as you carry on buying our shit. So I think there's some ethical dilemmas with what chaos magic and all of these other New Age cults have in them. Because there isn't the freedom of thought, there isn't the clarity of thought, there isn't necessarily independence. And there's also no education as to how to break down ideas properly and how to analyze intelligently or objectively the things which people report and the things which people experience or claim that they have experienced, which is questionable. I mean, why is it that a person would promote the idea that it is okay to behave in a disturbing manner and to communicate in a disturbing manner, and that being of a disturbing nature and a disturbing manner is somehow spiritual and good? What benefit can that have to the individual? What benefit can that have to someone's mentality? And when someone has suddenly realized that it's not right to be a part of a group of people which is quite so keen on disturbing ideas, or disturbing presentation, or disturbing delivery, or disturbing communication, or disturbing fashion even, that would mean that they would end up leaving the culture rather than necessarily staying in it and growing in it until they're in their older days. So I feel that there is something within the New Age, occult and pagan communities which has its own seeds of its own destruction. Because eventually people wake up. Sure, they may have inside them a illusion of identity or a illusion of membership of a group of people. And they may want to get into all kinds of aggressive arguments around certain festive times of the year about the true origin of that particular festival. But so what? You know, quite simply, so what? And in what way will that help to progress people and progress people's understanding? Or progress people's anything, really. So I suppose I am a bit cross, you know, a bit cross with the variety of sickness that I see within the whole communities. I mean, there's an awful lot of love and light and tolerance and acceptance and growth as well. So we have to take the rough with the smooth, but we also need to think more about how to lessen our need for the sense of identity and to grow in our sense of understanding and intelligence and intelligent thought and being genuinely scientific about the way in which we look at life and the way in which we look at ideas and the way and how critical we can be about things, rather than just being sick, really. Look after yourself and don't let the bed bugs bite. And have some Ouija board seances coming up soon.